video is going to be useful to you if you're looking to buy a hoop and you have no idea what to buy, what size, what tubing. I'm going to clarify some of that information for you. So the first thing I will mention is that you need to consider the larger and heavier the hoop is, the slower it's going to rotate around your body. And the reason why this is useful is because if you're trying to learn something for the first time, you're going to want a little bit of that extra time and weight from a larger, heavier hoop. It's going to help you have more time to think about what to do next. So the first type of tubing I'm going to mention is PE tubing. This tubing is, actually I have it right here. This is my first hoop. So anyway, this is PE tubing. This type of tubing is thicker than the other ones, so it's more stiff. It feels a little more bulky when you're hooping with it, but it is really recommended for beginners, and it's also the type of tubing that you're going to find almost guaranteed in a hardware store. So if you're interested in making your own hoop, you're probably going to be using PE tubing, and it comes in a black kind of tubing. So yeah, that's PE tubing. The second tubing I'm going to mention is Hdpe tubing, which I do have too. My second lovely hoop. So Hdpe tubing, I have heard it being recommended for beginners as well. I think it would be like the second most common recommended hoop for beginners after PE hooping, at least how I've heard it. It is similarly to the So the PE tubing and the Hdpe tubing are both really similar in stiffness. But the difference is that Hdpe is a lot lighter than PE tubing. So the last type of tubing I'm going to mention is Polypro PPE tubing. This tubing is like, wow, ninja fast. It's like the Tigger of the hoops. It's bouncy. It's like a Tigger and a ninja. Bouncy and fast. I wouldn't really recommend it for beginners just because of how fast it is. If you haven't developed the muscle memory for certain moves, it's going to be really hard to pick it up first on a Polypro just because it's going to react really fast. So one thing you're going to notice about PE tubing that you're not going to find in the other ones, as far as when you're trying to order one online or something, you're probably going to see PSI 100, PSI 125, or PSI 160. And all that's referring to is the weight. PSI 160 is a heavy hoop. 100 or 125 is probably a good weight to start off with. I wouldn't start with 160 unless you really can't even waist hoop and like you feel like you really want the extra weight, then for sure go for it. But 100, 125 PSI, you should be fine with that. So when you're ordering a hoop, you're going to want to know what diameter you want for the actual hoop, like how big or small the hoop is going to be, and you're also going to want to know the diameter of the actual tubing. Don't worry, I got you. We're going to go through this. Okay, so as far as picking a diameter goes, you're going to need some measuring tape, and you're going to measure from your feet to where your belly button ends, and here's where my belly button is, and it ends up being about 40 inches for me, and what's a little below my belly button, but this is what I started off with. It was really helpful for shoulder hooping and learning how to get my hoop from like my legs up to my chest, all that stuff. This was a lifesaver. It seriously was a lifesaver. So here's an example of a 35-inch hoop. So this is obviously a lot smaller than this one. I wouldn't go smaller than this, maybe to start off. So maybe between these two sizes, it's good. This is a 32, just so you can see for reference. You know, it looks really tiny next to the other one. This is what I hoop with now. So yeah, anywhere between these two is good. Larger will be easier to learn the on-body stuff I was mentioning. A little smaller, you could still learn that other stuff. It might be a little more difficult, but you may be able to do more off-body things. Honestly, I learned off-body and on-body stuff with this one too. It was really heavy and big at first, but after a couple months I went down to a smaller one, and it was really helpful for me to have started with this one. So everyone's different. Everyone has their own preference, so you're just gonna have to see as you learn yourself. So diameter of tubing. The most common one you're going to see is 3/4 of an inch for diameter of the tubing. And this is what I would also recommend for beginners. You can't really go wrong with it. Any smaller, it's going to make the hoop really fast and lighter, which is great for doubles, for minis, for a lot of off-body movement. As far as taping goes, for beginners, you're going to want the tape, and so what the tape does is it adds some extra weight as well as grip. It adds grip, it helps the hoop stay on your body or on your clothes. So you're going to see different types of tapes. There's going to be that shiny, sparkly, beautiful mermaid fairy tape, the deco tape, and this is slippery, so to start off with, if you're going to get like a beautiful deco taped hoop, make sure you get some grip tape on the inside diameter, like outlined all around the inside, or a swirl of the grip tape around the hoop, because it's going to be super slippery, slidey, and you're going to wish that you got that grip tape. So just get that grip tape. So hoops do come with absolutely no tape, and what many people do is they ask for it to be sanded in the inside, like with sandpaper. So that is another option. Again, not the number one recommendation for somebody that's starting off. I would recommend getting it taped. Don't worry so much about spending a lot of money on your first hoop, because chances are it's going to get beat up and the tape is going to be all messed up, and yeah, it's gonna get ugly. So as far as how the hoops come connected, there are different ways, and this one is the push button. Basically, you push this button and you pull really hard, and it opens. Ta-da! Right, so close it the same way, push down. I don't have an example of the friction fit, and what the friction fit is, it's like a smaller size tubing that connects, both of the tubes. The reason why I don't have that is because I used to have one and it would open on me all the time, and I've seen it happen to a lot of people, so I don't know, I just prefer push button. So here's my first hoop. It is connected, if you can see, by a smaller tube inside, and it's just pushed in. They taped around it, so I never had trouble with this one opening up. So now that you know most of the information, I hope that you have a good idea about what kind of hoop you want and what size you want to start with. If you still have any more questions, please ask me. I would love to answer your questions. Leave a comment and let me know if it was helpful. Thanks.